welcome back to the Good Enough Mompreneur Podcast, where we remind you that building a business as a mom doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. And this show is all about giving you practical strategies and real conversations that help you grow your business with confidence, balance, and a whole lot of heart. Before we dive in, don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, make sure you're following along so new episodes land right in your feed every week. But today, I'm so excited to introduce you to Carly Ries. So Carly is a fractional Chief Marketing Officer with nearly 20 years of experience helping everyone from local mom and pop shops to Fortune 500 companies. She's also the co-host of the Aspiring Solopreneur podcast. I love that. And the co-author of the upcoming book, Solopreneur Business for Dummies. Carly is passionate about empowering solopreneurs to not only build businesses that thrive, but also create lives they truly love. And we're all about that here. In this episode, we're going to dive into what a fractional CMO really does, why solopreneurs might need one, and some of the red flags to watch out for when hiring, and how marketing goes way beyond just social media. So trust me, you're going to want to grab your notebook and keep it handy for this one. Welcome, Carly. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, Angela, thank you so much for having me. I feel right at home here already.
I know. I love, not only is it great to talk to mom entrepreneurs, but podcasters too. There's really this common interest and common thought process and common goals that I think just fits in so well for this podcast. So thank you. This is going to be a really interesting conversation that's going to give listeners so much value.
Good. Well, I'm ready. Bring it on.
Yeah, great. Well, let's just dive in. So you've worked with those mom and pop companies and Fortune 500 businesses. So tell us about what drew you into the world of marketing and how has your perspective evolved over the years?
You know, it's so funny. I stumbled upon it when I was in high school. A friend of mine's, or a friend, one of my brother's friends' moms, if you're tracking, owned an agency, and they were looking for a summer intern, and she was kind of talking about it in the kitchen, and mostly college interns. And I
Mhm.
was like, well, I'll do it. And she was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, like marketing sounds fun. I was 16. I had no idea what I was talking about. It became my job and I haven't left. I mean, I left the agency. Still adore that company, but it's evolved so much over the years. Because when I started when I was 16, there wasn't social media. I mean, we would do billboards and we would do radio and all kinds of stuff. This makes me sound very dated, but that was the landscape 20 years ago.
Right.
And I feel like when I first got in, creative was at the heart, like creative and connection was at the heart of marketing. And then as the digital world evolved, I feel like a lot of marketing became analytics driven.
Mm.
And it was kind of like check the ROI, check the KPIs, like do all that, which is good and fine. But I think a lot of people started getting away from what marketing is really about, and that's getting your message in front of the right audience.
Mhm.
I think people got so into the numbers that they missed the creativity. And now I'm seeing a lot of people and a lot of companies circle back and trying to find the heart of their business
Mm.
and sharing that. And I feel like it went from creativity to analytics and now to authenticity.
Mm.
And so it's just marketing to me is fascinating because it's always changing. There's always going to be a new social media platform. There's always going to be a new technology like AI, which
Yeah.
curveball. and and so it kind of just it keeps me on my toes. And that's why I think it's so fascinating, but also in working with people now, solopreneurs, but companies before, you just learn so much about so many different businesses and get to hear so many cool stories and meet so many interesting people. And so that's why I'm still in the marketing game 20 years later.
Right. I love that story. And I think that one of the things that I want to prove in this conversation is the small lens through which we see marketing. And I think you're beginning to open that up for us. And
Mhm.
so I think a lot of people right now might be asking themselves, what's a fractional chief marketing officer? So, help us understand what it is that you do and what it's like to work with a fractional CMO like you.
It's so funny. So I say fractional CMO, and I was talking to a friend of mine that's a dermatologist, and she was like, "You're a CMO?" And or she had a terrified look on her face because she thought I meant chief medical officer. Definitely not qualified for that job title. Um, but so fractional, the term fractional has kind of come about, I would say, in the past decade, really more so in the past few years. But companies historically have had chief marketing officers, which
Mhm.
is great. But then you're having these smaller businesses and you're finding these solopreneurs, you have these mompreneurs that are like, well, I need to run my business, but I can't hire a chief marketing officer. Are you kidding? That's so expensive. Nor do I need that time. So for fractional CMOs, we come in and we help with strategy. We can help with messaging clarification. It's honestly like a CMO to company decision on how you want to involve them or not. And then they just contract with you for X amount of hours a week, X amount of hours a month, sometimes on a retainer model, and really help out with the marketing that people don't necessarily feel qualified to do when they start their business.
Mhm. To me, I've never worked with a fractional CMO, but that sounds lovely to be able to offload those marketing responsibilities or even all of the thought about all of the marketing that
Mhm.
is possible. So that that brings me to my next question. Like, why would we need one? I think it's pretty obvious, but I think that you can go deeper than some of the obvious reasons why we think we might need a CMO.
So honestly, the biggest thing is if you are in your business and you're not a marketer, there are parts of your business that you should be focusing on because it requires your brain power. Your company's your baby. You have to make operational decisions, financial decisions. You have to make I mean, people, you have a lot on your to-do list.
Hmm.
And hiring a fractional marketer or fractional anything
Hmm.
can take that weight off of you and allow you to spend your time on the big ticket items
Hmm.
that can help take your business to the next level or maintain it at what it is without burning out. Um, and just, and, but aside from that, hiring somebody that's fractional gives another perspective. They
Right.
may see your business in a different way than you do. Like for LifeStar, we have these meetings and we're like, we're the smartest people ever. And then you bring in an outside perspective and it's like, oh, we didn't see that because we're so attached to it. And a
Mm-hmm.
fractional marketer can come in and be like, okay, so you have a coaching business.
Hmm.
You focus on XYZ. Have you explained it to people in this way? Because when I hear this, this is how I would want to share the message with others. And they're like,
Hmm.
oh, I didn't have that perspective. That's a great point. So one, it takes the marketing burden off of you. The
Hmm.
strategies, often the tactics, a lot of fractional CMOs implement the strategies.
Hmm.
Um, and then also just for a soundboard. So there are just some really good reasons to bring on contractors across the board
Right.
so that you can do what matters most.
Yeah. And we're going to talk later about the isolation of being a solopreneur or an online business owner. It can be very isolating. And I think, too, that is a time where someone in your position could add even more value because we just have blinders on so often. And it's very isolating. And we're not really sure what we're doing could it be better?
Yeah.
Um, so I love that. And of course, we would love for listeners to reach out to you if they're interested in hiring a fractional CMO. But I really think it's great for listeners to have in their pocket some of the red flags when considering hiring a CMO. What are some things that they should talk about or think about? And I think it'd be great for you to share the story you shared with me about how one of your clients really loved how you got to know their business.
Yeah, so that's a big one because a lot of times marketers will come in with a blanket statement like, oh, I specialize in social media or email marketing or whatever, or strategy. And then they think they can apply what they know to every business and turn it into a well-oiled machine. Well, marketing doesn't work very well if you don't understand the business that you're marketing. And I mean through and through. And so even my co-author and the founder of Lifestar, I used to work for him in an agency setting.
Mm-hmm.
And he reached back out years later and he was like, the reason why I wanted you to be a fractional CMO with Lifestar is because of the agencies I've worked with, contractors. He goes, I could tell you, and this is a company he had prior to Lifestar, but he was like, I could tell that you did your homework, you spent time diving in, asking the real questions, and fully understanding our scope of products and services before you even began to tell me your recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
So you want them to understand your business and you want them to care
Right.
because I mean, you care about your business and so you're
Right.
going to speak highly of it, but you want them to message like they're the ones owning the business because
Mm-hmm.
they're your marketing arm. So people that don't care, that's a red flag. Guaranteed results or guaranteed instant results. Like you'll get $50,000 if you just implement this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a red flag. If they don't practice what they preach, like if you're hiring somebody for social media and they have 10 followers on Instagram, maybe they're not the best person and maybe they're starting out, but you
Yeah.
want to use somebody that is going to apply what they're doing to you to their own business as well. Um, if they don't have, oh, you need a clear scope of work. So if you don't, if you like, if they're kind of vague in what they're going to deliver for you, that's kind of a red flag. You need to have it clearly defined from the outset.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, yeah, I just no references or reviews or no form of social proof. Like maybe they don't have 100 five-star Google reviews, but if
Mm-hmm.
they can't give you one satisfied client
Mm-hmm.
and their information so you can reach out to them and all that,
Mm-hmm.
that's a red flag too, because they may be hiding something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think those are great tips. And sometimes we just want to go with the first person because it's easy and we just
Sure.
need to offload it. But really think about the decision that you're making. And, while you were talking, I was also thinking about our little discussion about the role that the business owner should take too when onboarding a fractional CMO. So, talk about some of the things that maybe they want to be prepared to do to help someone like you do their best work.
Yeah, so you have to set them up for success. So once you hire them,
Yeah.
you need to have a good working relationship. Something that I have found so helpful is to put together standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of times, like if you're a mompreneur, you're like, oh, I left the standard operating procedures in corporate. Like, I don't want to deal with that stuff. Well, it saved me when I went on maternity with my kids because when I left, we could bring on another person
Right.
and I had it all not only written down, but I
Hmm.
had videos recorded showing the process of everything that I do. Cause I was like, I don't want anybody to bother me when I'm out on maternity leave. Like I want time with my baby.
Yeah.
And so making sure that the a great way to have a good working relationship is to let them be autonomous. And
Hmm.
the only way they can be autonomous is if you provide the resources for them. But have those discovery calls, get to know each other personally so that
Hmm.
you can, I mean, yeah, you want to make the meetings quick and efficient, but you want to be like, hey, how was your golf game? How's this? And really build that rapport and set them up for success. Don't let them figure it out on their own. You're a new company. So do what you can for it to be a positive experience.
Hmm. Yeah, and I love that you bring up the SOPs because I always say the end goal, even if you're not there yet, you're a new startup, is to have your business run without you, at least for
Yes.
small increments of time. And so even if you're not ready to onboard somebody to help you, start writing down those procedures now so that's possible in the future.
Because you never know. I mean, I had 9 months to know when I was going to be out, but we didn't know if it was going to be
Yeah.
a full 9 months. And that's just one example. I mean, maybe you have an opportunity of a lifetime where you can do the around the world plane or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
don't we try, it's so easy to push those things to the back burner since it doesn't it's like when you're remodeling a house and you have to do the insulation and everything behind the walls. And you're like, no, I want to do the stuff that everybody can see. This is the stuff that you have to do
Mhm.
behind the scenes to really set yourself up for success
Mhm.
and not make the business dependent on your time
Right.
um, in a one-on-one format.
Yeah. No, great reminders. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of what you actually do. And you kind of brought it up already, in that so many people think marketing is just social media. But then I know if you can't see Carly's face, she just went, oh. And, so many people feel like when they market their business, it includes doing dances on TikTok or Instagram and like putting their face out there everywhere. So talk to us about what marketing involves beyond social media.
Is social media a good tool? Yes. If that is where your audience
Right. Hmm.
is social media the only way you should be marketing your business? Absolutely not. I mean, I was telling you in a previous conversation that I'm a millennial, but I somehow missed the Instagram reel, TikTok trend, what all those things. And I think before you do any marketing tactics or anything, you have to lead with strategy. And before can lead with strategy, you have to really, really understand your audience
Hmm.
and their pain points and what they like and what they dislike and how they talk. Like if you're going into a formal setting and you're throwing out, "Hey, y'all, dun, dun, dun," like you need to speak their language. You need to be able to get into their mindset.
Hmm.
And from there, you can decide, okay, well, do they get on social media? Like, really, do they get on social media? Or are they hanging out at coffee shops? And if they're hanging out at coffee shops, can I partner with this coffee company? Or if they're hanging out
Hmm.
at let's say you're targeting dog owners.
Hmm.
Are they looking for dog stuff on Instagram? Maybe. But are they also going to dog parks where there's flyers and everything that would really pertain to them? Yes.
Hmm.
So knowing your audience is key. Social media, like gone are the days where you can just post something and hope that everybody that you want to see it sees it. I mean, I don't know about your feeds. I have ads everywhere. I don't know the percentage, but you get served such a small amount of what you should actually be seeing in your feeds just based on the algorithm. So for social media for me now,
Hmm.
it's all about building community and creating value. I
Hmm.
see so much more value interacting in groups and forums and actually like responding to questions and all of that than I do posting something and then letting it
Hmm.
fly. You could pay to play. A lot of that is now pay to play to get everything seen to boost those posts and everything. But to really make an impact, we have said for us, we have seen so much with interacting with our community on
Hmm.
social media and being like, oh, well, you, Angela, you have this issue. Well, Carly can solve this. You guys should totally meet for coffee. And bringing people together and creating those connections, that's where I think social media is really thriving now.
Hmm.
But the digital space is really crowded. So I really encourage solopreneurs to think outside the box and think, okay, can I get involved in my community? Can
Hmm.
I join networking groups? Can I join a fitness class and just get people to know me? So then when they think of something for their business, they'll think of me. I know real estate agents can be like really successful with that. Um, so just it's not all digital. Really just think where if I were my audience, where do I consume information and go from there?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that those are really good tips. And I think it gets back to being a solopreneur, especially if you have an online business. That isolation part, again, is just, think beyond your computer screen or your phone screen.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
so easy to hide, but it's funny from a marketing standpoint for solopreneurs, we have so many people that don't tell people what they do because they don't want
Mm.
to come off as salesy or pushy or anything. And we're like, well, you have to tell people what you do if you want people to know about it. I was guilty of that. So years
Mhm.
ago, it's just like a decade ago now, I
Mhm.
overheard my parents talking to some friends, and they were like, Carly is a creative director for an ad agency. I've never been a creative director. And I had left the ad agency 5 years prior. And but I didn't tell my parents, two of the people that I'm closest to, what I do on a day to day. I either one assumed that they knew or just didn't think to bring it up. But obviously they're going to be the ones that want to send me clients more than anybody. They're my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So use your existing network, like quarterly, reach out to your friends and family and be like, hey, this is what I'm up to. What have you been up to as well? And make it conversational. It doesn't have to be salesy, but it's just those little, you don't think of it as marketing because you're being helpful,
Mm-hmm.
but providing value and being helpful is marketing now. And so just show up where people need you. And I mean, things usually fall into place if you can do that correctly.
Yeah, no, I love that. So, if there's somebody who's listening and they're just a startup, a solopreneur, and they're just like, I don't even know where to start, what are some suggestions for maybe what could be a priority to help you find some traction in your business?
In your business, so the low-hanging fruit,
Yeah.
talking to people who you think would be your target audience, your personas, and really just learning.
Mm-hmm.
Learn, and listen. Because the more feedback you get, because another part of people not sharing is when you're working in a silo, you aren't getting that external feedback. So you're like, I'm ready to go to market. This is going to be great. And then you release it and you're like, oh, nobody cares because I didn't do my research.
Mm-hmm.
When you're starting, listen to what people need and help it influence your product or service, like your
Mm-hmm.
actual operations.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it influences that, then you can focus on your messaging. But I think listening, whether it's a fly on the wall in forums or doing the social listening or actually going and having a cup of coffee with people, which I highly encourage to
Mm-hmm.
really have those deep conversations.
Mm-hmm.
That's step one. Getting that feedback, yeah, early and often. Um, and for mompreneurs, making sure it's something you enjoy. I know that that is like, you're not going to love every day of your business, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference between running a successful business and running a successful business that you love. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're a mompreneur, you're in control, you're in the driver's seat. Your life is probably crazy because you're balancing the kids, you're prioritizing your career, and you have to think at the end of the day, is what I'm doing worth it for, and is it fulfilling for me? Or am I just trying to make money? Because I can say before I even had kids, I was making arguably the most amount of money I have ever made in my life. And I was the most miserable I ever was
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't set boundaries. And so you have to think of those boundaries early and often. Um, and I didn't, you need to think about pricing. I was pricing my services too low. So I was saying yes to everything. If you can get to the power of no when you're first starting out
Mm-hmm.
and turn people away that don't align with what you want for your business, that is huge. And that will dictate how successful, excuse me, you are not only financially, but like personally and how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think those are the big things. Like when you're first getting started, make sure it's something you like. And because I don't want to say like the whole phrase, if you love what you do, you'll never have to work a day in your life. You still have to like do taxes. Does anybody actually like doing like there are days that you're gonna be like, oh, I don't want to do this, but the other stuff, it can be so fun. So I don't know. That's my personal take for getting started.
Yeah, no, I think that that's great. And people think that there's some fancy secret to marketing, especially early on. And, I think you're spot on. If you're just starting out, you don't know all that much. You know your perspective and how you might be able to help someone. And listening is so valuable. And I really try to get people to focus on not having a transactional mindset, but more of a transformational mindset when it comes to serving their clients. And that listening is such a key part of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Because they can tell you something that may totally change your life. I mean,
mhm,
truly, it could change the trajectory of your business.
mhm,
But if you're so focused on what you want to tell them
mhm,
rather than what you want, rather than what they want to say,
mhm.
there's no point in talking to them in the first place because you're only going to hear what you want to hear.
Right, right, yeah. So I think in some of your tips for focusing on priorities as a startup might lend to some of the common maybe missteps, but are there some other missteps that you might want to point out that maybe you see often that could save listeners some time and some heartache?
I mean, it's so funny. Like obviously, depending on the industry you're in, you're going to have different mistakes to avoid. But what we've seen across the board is there are some really common ones.
Mm-hmm.
One is running the entire business by yourself
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of solopreneurs do that, maybe for financial reasons, maybe not. Maybe it's because they just want all control.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a fast track to burnout.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a mompreneur, you can't work
Yeah.
around the clock. You have little ones or big little ones to be around and
Mm-hmm.
to mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't really need you less as they grow up. It's just
Yeah.
different.
But we always say flying solo in business doesn't mean you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so we so recommend working with other contractors,
Mm-hmm.
fractional CMOs,
Mm-hmm.
working with or using AI as a tool. I mean, AI is there now. It's part
Yeah.
of our landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Use it and then figure out ways to automate. Like, don't think that you have to carry the burden of an entire business, which so many people have employees to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe a lot of maybe your listeners do have employees and are still mompreneurs and running a business, but just focus on the stuff you need to focus on and figure out how you can get the other stuff off of your plate. So that's a big mistake. And that all applies to the marketing world specifically as well. Like operations, marketing, like if you don't want to post on social every day, have somebody else do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a necessity. You might have fun with it, but it's not a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about working. I was talking about the insulation and everything behind the scenes of a home remodel, but you have to work both in your business and on your business. So you need to be serving your clients, you need to be getting your customers what they need, but you cannot forget to look at your analytics, to keep checking with clients,
Mm-hmm.
to keep learning and understanding the landscape. I mean, things change constantly this day and
Mm-hmm.
age, and you need to make sure you're doing your homework to make sure you stay relevant. So it's great that you serve your clients, but again, if you're a social media consultant
Mm-hmm.
and you're not working on your own social media page, that's an issue. So working in and on your business is key for people just starting out.
Mm-hmm.
Saying yes to too many things. I talked about the power of no,
Yeah.
but the more you say yes, the less time you have for the things that are important to you in life.
Mm-hmm.
Raising your rates can help that, but also just fully understanding who your ideal client is so that you have the ability to say no. And raising your prices helps with the whole uh, concern about the financial side of things as well. So you can say no to more people because you can bring out the right people that will pay you those higher prices.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I talked about understanding your customers, but not niching down is a huge thing that people do wrong because they're like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm a coach. I can coach anybody.
Yeah.
Well, but if you're a coach that focuses on coaching middle-aged moms who are trying to figure out like the next phase and everything, that can go a lot further than just I'm a coach. And a mom will search coaches for moms as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just coach. So um if you're the jack of all trades, you're the master of none when it comes to marketing. So really, really niche down. I think that's a huge mistake that people make all the time.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. And then not setting boundaries, whether it's the time you stop working, whether it's like, do you want your clients or customers to have your email? Do you want them to have your phone number? Do you want like how do you want them to get a hold of you?
Mm-hmm.
Just setting boundaries that you stick to. If you say I'm one thing actually that I've started doing is I'll put little mini out of office emails, even if I'm there. I'll say, hey, going to get a quick workout in, be back in 2 hours. I'm doing this, so I'm refreshed when I come back and work with you. And then they're like, okay, great. Like she's taking the time for self-care
Mm-hmm.
so that she's fresh and ready to rock when she's
Mm-hmm.
working on my stuff. Um, and I think people respect you when you set those boundaries too.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say those are my biggies.
No, I think those are great ones to bring up because I think if you don't start out with those intentions, you will find your way after serving a few clients that are not well aligned with where you want to go and who you want to serve.
Mhm.
You'll start to incorporate some of those
Yes, and you
strategies.
will find you.
Oh, yes, yes. So, So one of the things that you brought up, and I think that this is something that I took for granted. Like I have been working remotely and on the go for more than a decade, probably like you. And it's something that is not innate to everybody. It's something that it's definitely a skill set. But what are some of your tips for working in that flexible environment, but also staying productive?
Yeah, so I had to master this because back in 2014, before everybody was doing this, my
Yeah.
husband and I became digital nomads.
Hmm.
And I was working full time for an ad agency. He was working full time for a company. And we were in places like Yosemite Valley and remote places where I was still on the clock and I had to make sure that I was reachable and then my clients could get a hold of me. And so I started, and then we did it. And so then we left the road, did the whole house marriage. We were dating at the time, house marriage kid thing. And then when my daughter was 4 months old, we hit the road again because we missed it. And so then I was working, momming, and traveling. So I was like, well, how are we going to pull this off? And like, I was like, we're either the smartest people that were doing this or we were going to really regret this. Luckily, it was the former. Um, I think the boundary setting when you're on the go is key. Um, both from productivity, but also reliability, transparency. So
Hmm.
let people know where you are. If like right now, I'm actually sitting in I'm at like a co-working boardroom. You can't see because it looks like I'm in a cool coffee shop. Um, but letting people, because you need to know where well you'll like when you're gonna have reliable Wi-Fi, and you
Hmm.
have backup plans. Like if you're like, oh, I'm gonna go work from a forest today. I don't know who does that, but maybe you're gonna go work from a forest and your hotspot isn't working,
Hmm.
then maybe download things ahead of time that you can work on. Like we were just writing our book. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm in a spot that doesn't have reliable Wi-Fi, I'm going to use that time to write. And I would
Hmm.
just pull up my Word doc and I would just type away so I could still be productive, even when things weren't in my favor. I kind of like liken it to a podcast. Like if there's something you really want to listen to, but you don't have service,
Hmm.
you forgot to download that one podcast. It's like, ah, but if you plan ahead and just always have something that you can be working on during your hours of productivity,
Hmm.
like plan for that. Um, the other thing of being on the road, being a mom, productivity, all that stuff, is to know your most productive hours
Hmm.
and around those. For me, I can get up at 4:30. I'm a total morning person and I can jam from like 4:30 until 8 or when my kids get up. And I am just like, I am the smartest person in the world right now because I'm just so focused and energized. If you ask me to write anything after 7 p.m., forget it. That is one, it's my family time. It's my, I prior, like, I mean, I don't work until 7 p.m., but just for an example, we'll say 5. That's my family time. I know that I want to be present. I don't want anything around me, but I know that that's when I cut it off. So I'm uber focused leading up to them and just work when my brain wants to function properly. And then use the rest of the time as self-care, spending time with friends, maybe thinking about the business, going on a hike or something, and really letting your creative juices flow, but really prioritizing those productivity hours. Yeah, prioritizing those productivity hours and knowing what those are because you're no longer in a 9 to 5. You don't have to be on from 9 to 5. So if I know for me, I'll do the 4:30. My kids get up, then I do the mom thing. I do breakfast, I get ready for school, I do all that stuff. And then I work out really, or not I work out, I work really hard again and I'm just super efficient. And then I kind of feel that lull and I'm like, do I get a cup of coffee or do I go work out? I go work out. And that's when I get the self-care in. And then I'm re-energized. So then I work again. And then it's time to pick the kids up from school. And it's like you can be flexible with that if you're running your own business. So fully understand that to take advantage of it so that you can either work for your home office or work from the road and know you're being productive no matter where you are.
Yeah, and it's totally doable. I think it just frightens people to have this flexibility, like, "Oh, I can't do that." But yeah, you can. You can set boundaries with your clients, and like you said, they tend to respect that. And I
We
think that the people you want to work with will respect that.
we work with a contractor who is obsessed with cruises. He loves vacationing on a cruise. and he'll send us an email like a month prior to be like, heads up, I will be on a cruise for this week. And I would say it's quarterly that he like loves these cruises. Yeah. And exactly.
Yeah.
And he'll let us know and he'll be like, I do this so that I don't, he was like, if I get burned out, you're not going to want to work with me anyway, because I will not be at full capacity. If I can take these week-long cruises with my wife and my kids and come back feeling refreshed, he was like, I will get twice as much done
Yeah.
that I would have in that week that I was gone, because I would have just been dreading it or just tired. I
Hmm.
mean, burnout is a real thing. I think the other thing that people need to realize when they fill their schedules
Hmm.
is such a difference between being busy and being productive. I
Hmm.
mean, I can be busy scrolling TikTok for 3 hours and convince myself I'm doing research
Yeah.
on clients. But at the end of the day, like I was probably just watching a bunch of dog trick videos and just lying to myself. It's
Right.
weird as a solopreneur, it's easy to trick yourself into how you're spending your time.
Hmm.
So I do also think people need to track their time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Again, a lot of people leave corporate because they're like, I'm not doing time tracking anymore. I don't want to. Don't do it like for that reason, but do it to see where you're spending it. Look at your phone. Your phone tells you where you're spending your time. So embarrassed. When I first looked at it, I was like, ooh, I have adjustments I need to make. And really be honest with yourself, because that will help from a productivity standpoint too. And yeah, setting those boundaries, it all works together to make a well-oiled machine.
Right. Yeah. Well, I want to respect your time and not run too long, even though I could totally talk to you for so long, because I think you really bring that authenticity as you're talking to just sharing practical wisdom that I think so many people are looking for to incorporate in their businesses. But I want to make sure we talk about your new book that's coming up and what listeners and readers can expect to learn in your new book.
Yeah, so it's Solopreneur Business for Dummies, those yellow books that we see.
Yeah.
One of those. And it's basically, we have worked with solopreneurs I mean, we've worked with thousands at this point, like from our community and just our events that we put on. And we have learned so much, and even from our own solopreneur journeys. And we are like, we want a book that, like, it's so easy to spin your wheels as a one person business owner. So we came up with this idea called the Solopreneur Success Cycle. And the book really follows that. And it talks about how we are at Lifestar, and myself personally, we're not the wait, like spend your life working. Like
Hmm.
we want you to build a business that supports your life's goals. And
Hmm.
so the whole point of this book is here's how to run a successful business. It's one that you run. We're not going to tell you, we're not an incubator. We're not going to tell you how to like go after investments and become the next Bezos or Musk or whatever.
Hmm.
But we target everyday people
Hmm.
where you just want to run a business successfully, make the income you want to make, and still make it to your kids' soccer games.
Hmm.
And so that's our target. And the success cycle helps people do that. So we touch on like what you should do at the beginning phases, what to do while you're actually running your business, what to do if you need to refine your business and reimagine it. Because sometimes you get working and you're like, oh, I thought I was doing it right. Now I need to redefine everything
Yeah.
that I thought I knew. So we talk about that. And then we also just talk about lifestyle and balance and avoiding burnout, avoiding isolation as a solopreneur. And just it's kind of the all-in-one guide to be like, you got this, we're your cheerleaders, we're all in this together. And you can do this.
I love that. I wanted to dive more into all that you've learned from the solopreneurs that you've served and from your own experience as well. So I love that you put it in a book. I mean, it sounds like an amazing resource because so many of my listeners are solopreneurs.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's funny because what we found when we first went into it, we were like, well, the struggles people have, they're probably specific to their industry or specific to what they actually do. And we have surveyed so many people, and it all comes down basically to like lead generation,
Hmm.
sales, because people get so squirmy with sales, and like time and productivity. Like, oh, I'm working around the clock. Oh, and it's just those are three common things where no matter what you're doing or who you are, a
Hmm.
lot of people face them. But yeah, we talk about imposter syndrome. I mean, that's huge for solopreneurs. It's just I'm biased, but I think it's a
Yeah.
good resource.
I love it. Before we close out, if there's one piece of marketing advice you want listeners to walk away from this conversation, what would that be?
Be authentic. Don't try to be your competitor. Don't try to be somebody you're not because they have more followers or whatever. Be your true self. Make fun of yourself. Laugh at yourself. Be transparent. Authenticity is the name of the game these days. And the more people feel like they can relate to you, the more likely they'll be to work with you or hire you or buy from you.
Yeah, 100%. And it's harder these days than you would think, just because we are so bombarded with so many different messages on what you should be doing and how you should do things and whatnot. And so I constantly think we need that reminder.
Yes,
Like, are you
yes, be
being
yourself.
yourself?
We learn it
So,
in kindergarten. A lot of us just forget about it.
well, I mean, you just have shared a treasure trove of insight and wisdom and practical tips. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Where can listeners connect with you, find your new book, all of the details?
Yes. So I'm on LinkedIn, Carly Ries, Ries. Our book, you can find it at book.lifestar.com. At the time of this recording, it's available for pre-order. It will be out into the wild on October 6, 2025. But if you pre-order, we have a crazy deal that gives you access to our platform and resources for solopreneurs at an insane discounted rate. And all those details are at book.lifestar.com. Lifestar has two R's. So it's
Okay.
lifestar.
All right.
.com. And then just to find out more about the company, it's lifestar.com.
I love it. And I'll leave those links in the show notes as well. I'm absolutely sure listeners are walking away with so many insights as I am about what it really means to be approaching marketing strategically, why a fractional CMO could be a game changer for your business, and how to avoid some of the common pitfalls for solopreneurs. So remember, you don't have to do this alone. Building a business that works for your life is about finding the right support, the right strategies, and giving yourself to grow permission to grow at your own pace. If you love this episode, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. We would so appreciate it. With another mompreneur who could use some encouragement and clarity in her business. And if you're listening on the podcast, streaming it, please take a second to leave us a review. It means so much. You can connect with Carly, and I'll leave all of her links in the show notes that she mentioned. And of course, if you'd like to keep the conversation going with me, you can connect with me too over at mombusinesscoach.com. Thanks again for tuning in to the Good Enough Mompreneur podcast. Remember, your business doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful, and neither do you. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Thanks.